All righty. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this week's webinar, Never Miss a Lead, with Laura Nelson of Signpost. We're super excited to have you on. While we give everyone just a few more minutes to trickle in, I would love to know how many sales reps does your company have? Here at Leap, we have about 15 to 20 sales reps. The reason that I ask here at Leap especially, we determine who we have represent your company based on how many sales reps you have. We like to target your company the best way that we can possibly help you. So if you wouldn't mind going ahead and putting in your chat box how many sales reps you have. This will also make sure that all of our systems are running nice and smooth and that the chat box is working so we can use it throughout for any questions you may have. We have Sean answer that he has 3 sales reps. Thank you. Advanced Remodeling in Baltimore, 3 sales reps. Carrie, 8. All right, let's keep them trickling in. I love to see how many of a variety we can get here. 3 seems to be the winner currently. Well, you guys can go ahead and keep putting those in there as we go on. And throughout the entire presentation, feel free to use the chat box if you have questions, comments. If for some reason you can't hear us anymore, if the screen stops presenting, please go ahead and put those in the chat box. Any questions that you ask, if Laura does not answer them throughout the presentation, I will make sure that they get answered at the end of the webinar. I just want to go ahead and get started here. I know you guys aren't here to hear from me, but you do have to hear from me for 1 or 2 more slides, and then we'll get right into Miss Laura. But first, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Leap. My name is Madeline. I'm your host today, and I work for Leap. Today's presentation, Never Miss Your Lead, is presented to you by Leap and, of course, Signpost. Today's webinar, oh, I'm sorry, I already said that. Leap is a sales software that reduces errors and redundancies that slows down your sales process. Leap allows the owner or someone accountable to control all pricings and profit margins in one central location. Whether you're roofing, window, siding, flooring, kitchen or bath, or any other home service, you can use the power of Leap to make your customized sales platform your own. With Leap, you take brochures, estimates, documents, personal checks, and any other thing that you may have, and you can put them into one digital location to power your business. I'm going to launch a poll here. And if you would like a sales representative from Leap to reach out to you to talk to you a little bit more about Leap and how they can really help your business, you can go ahead and answer yes. If you're not interested at the time and you're just here to hear from Laura, I completely understand. You can just answer maybe later on there. I'm going to leave that up for a few more seconds. If you do happen to say yes today, a Leap team member will be reaching out to you within the next few days to just talk to you about Leap and make sure that we are the correct fit for you and that we are, can help you in the best possible way. Perfect. Thank you so much for answering in that chat or in that poll. I am going to now introduce Laura Nelson. Laura Nelson has marketed, sold to, and collaborated with local businesses for over 10 years of her career as a marketing and business manager. She is currently VP of Marketing at Signpost, following progressive roles with Broadly, Reputed.com, and Patch. Laura earned her MBA from the University of Michigan, where she focused on strategy, marketing, and a BFA at Carnegie Mellon University. She enjoys skiing, traveling, and art in her spare time and is based at a Signpost Denver office. I would like everyone to welcome Laura Nelson. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so that Laura can share hers. Perfect.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here. Can you see my screen, Madeline? I just want to make sure that's all good to go.
Yes, it looks great.
We get started. Awesome. So as Madeline mentioned, I am Laura Nelson. I am with Signpost. We are actually a partner with Leap, not just in terms of bringing you this content today, but also our technology is integrated. So if you're a Leap user and interested in learning more about how to use Signpost with Leap, I will provide that information as well. But I really want to get into this topic of how you can't miss a lead. A lot of people know us as a reputation management company, and we certainly do a lot of that today, but our feature set and what we talk about to help you as contractors has really expanded beyond that. What I'll be talking about today are specifically these 4 things. On to the next slide. So our agenda is all about helping you understanding your target customer. That's really important to you guys as you try to expand your marketing channels, right? Get more leads. I hear that from contractors all the time. How do I get more leads? We're going to cover that today. Importantly, as part of that too, we're going to talk about what that customer expects. People are impatient, right? We're going to talk about what they expect from you, the local business owner, from the contractor. Then we're going to get into ways to capture more leads. I'm going to get specific in terms of the channels and ways that you can open more doors for homeowners. And then finally, I'm going to touch on this process of automation, or the concept rather of automation. This is critical so that you can take the human element out of some of your processes and let the technology do some of the work for you. So if you're already a Leap customer or already a Signpost customer, you have an idea of how this can work. I want to make sure we touch all of the bases here today to make sure that you've got the best chance for success on capturing, converting your leads. So moving on. First, let's talk about that target client of yours, right? Super important, again, to understand where she's coming from and what her expectations are before you can start to build solutions. Just take into consideration where she's coming from, right? I've got a typical homeowner here who's digitally savvy. She's on her phone, on her couch, which many of us do, often watching TV, multitasking, and potentially looking for a provider like you in between tasks at work or after hours. She has a few common characteristics that we do as consumers, in that, she is impatient. She is short on time, and she is seeking convenience. So I read those all out of order, but you get the idea, right? When people have a problem that comes up in their home, say they've got a leaky roof, they don't want to spend a whole lot of time evaluating their options, right? They need to connect the dots quickly and get to a solution, right? I really want to hone in on this idea of convenience, because I want that to be a common theme throughout the conversation today. There's an easy way of doing things, and that certainly comes into play when it comes to communicating with homeowners and capturing their business. There's also a hard way. And, when I think about the hard way, I think about ways that contractors put in friction to the process. One immediate way that comes to mind is, say, if everyone requires me to call them, right? If you've only got one way of communicating with your customers, or if you're very difficult to get in touch with, you're making things difficult for your potential customers, right? So, think about this theme throughout when we're talking about making things easy for the homeowner or more difficult. So we're all used to this concept of convenience. And I think especially in the last few years, this has become even more predominant at the local level. It's not just Amazon or Netflix that's delivering something or providing a service at the click of a button. We're seeing this idea of convenience of access through a mobile app at the local level too. I've got a few examples here on the screen, right? Some of you might already be doing some of these, right? Like virtual inspection. That's probably the most applicable to your business, as contractors. However, many of us have started getting used to ordering food from our favorite local restaurant, through an app like DoorDash, or ordering delivery of groceries or pickup of groceries through an app like Instacart or through Amazon's Whole Foods app. Whatever the case may be, consumers are really pushing this expectation I'll get into the stats of how, but again, this idea of convenience isn't just for the big players in the field. It's also come down to the local level. And we'll talk about ways that you can provide a great experience, through technologies like these. But first, I really want to cover off on your client expectations. I painted kind of a vague picture and how she's impatient, shorter time. Well, what does that actually mean? Well, she's not going to wait around a whole lot. And this is what I mean by that. Her expectations are enormous. Here's a few stats that illustrate that. 90% of consumers want multiple communication options like messaging and text. So I mentioned a minute ago that phone is a popular option, but it can add friction to the process in communicating with and dealing with the homeowner. So if you're not offering other options, you're missing out on an opportunity to win 90% of this business. Next stat is particularly alarming too. 75% of online customers expect help within 5 minutes. I know that is a really daunting task for you as contractors to meet, but there are solutions that can make this super easy for you. Next stat, 30% of consumers are inquiring during off hours. And you probably find this true coming through your website. I'm dealing with voicemails that come in through overnight, right? And I mentioned that target client, she's got lots of things going on during the day. So she might not be able to look for a solution or look for someone like you to solve her problem during the day. In fact, nearly a third of people are sending in their inquiries to businesses like yours overnight. Do you have the right tools, the right processes in place to capture that info and to improve your chances of converting on that lead? So a big part of what we're going to cover today is opening more doors to prospective homeowners, right? Making it easy for them to get in touch, because you probably know already, if you're here today, you know that you need to win the race in capturing that lead and getting in touch with the homeowner. In fact, the majority of people, 78% of people, are going to buy from the company that responds first. So again, this is a daunting task, but with the right tools and technology, the right processes, your business can improve its chances of winning this race. And again, the reason that this is important is because you're 10 times less likely to have leads respond if your outreach takes more than 5 minutes. So that 5-minute window, that is incredibly tight. If you do not have a mechanism to respond to that homeowner, again, she's short on time, she's impatient, she's going to move on to the next guy or gal on the list, right? Your competitors. So what I'm going to get into next really is to talk about how you can capture your leads and again, ensure that you never miss a lead. So I've got 6 methods here. I'm going to go through them one by one. But as just an overview, I'm starting on the upper left. I'm going to talk about web chat. I'm going to talk about text messaging. I'm going to talk about Facebook and other social messaging. I talk about calendaring, or specifically online scheduling. I talk about your phone line, because I'm not going to advocate that you give up on phone calls altogether. That is not realistic. Then I'm going to talk about automation. So I mentioned that a little bit earlier about the technology doing the work for you. So that's something to keep at the forefront, as we work through these methods. First, starting with web chat. So I'm going to talk about why this is important, right? Again, supported by a few stats here. The reason why web chat is so popular is that people like the immediacy of it, and their customer satisfaction stats really support that, right? Like the majority of people prefer or have greater satisfaction using live chat than they do other channels like email or phone, right? We're all trying to improve our customer satisfaction scores. And if we have tools in place that support that, the better off we are. A few more stats to keep in mind, right? Why do consumers prefer chat? Well, here's a few compelling reasons why. The majority of people like getting responses to their questions immediately, right? Just over half like to multitask, and I'm certainly guilty of this, especially when I'm interacting with a business or one that for whatever reason I can't call on the phone. Comcast comes to mind when I think of that one. Kind of hand in hand with that is nearly half of people believe it's more efficient in terms of getting their answers and interacting with the business. So again, important to keep in mind the experience of that customer you're trying to attract. Web chat is an easy, less intrusive way of interacting with them and getting answers to their questions quickly. I'm going to show you an example. This is how Signpost helps to facilitate this, an example of our web chat on an example contractor website. You can see that people can choose what option, in terms of what they're looking for, right? Do they want to learn more about your product or services? Are they just browsing? Do they want to book an appointment? Are they hoping to reach a person? Like this menu of services that pops up immediately helps guide them along that journey and take some of the friction out of picking up the phone. So, not everybody's going to do that. So how can you give them more information and help them feel more comfortable in getting the information that they need and potentially working with your business? You can also see an example of this on signpost.com. So you can check out that site and also go through our menu of services and see how that works in real time. So that's web chat. That's just one way that you can give yourself an opportunity to capture and convert on more leads. I'm going to go through all the other examples I outlined as well. And next is text messaging. When you think about it, you and I probably send way more text messages than we make phone calls in one day, right? No surprise there. It's easy, it's immediate. And the stats are really compelling for marketers. So consider opening this up as a channel for communicating with your prospects and your customers. Here's why it's important. Text messages have 4 times the open rate when compared to email. What's more, the majority of people here, overwhelming 90% of leads, they prefer to be texted rather than called. And I know not everyone's in that boat, but I certainly am. It's a quick and easy way to get information. So how does that break down? Well, here's an example of what that can look like. Again, this is just the Signpost example. There are others out there, but it helps to see what that might look like for your business. So we offer a desktop version and a mobile app that helps bring your text messages, your Facebook messages, your home advisor leads, for example, all into one place. And it also, interestingly, and also beneficially to your whole team, helps to separate your personal text messages from your business text messages. And, we get that a lot. Like business owners would rather not their salespeople or their crew communicate one-on-one with homeowners. So instead, by having a separate app, a separate phone number, and shared access, you're able to keep those professional texts in one place and your personal life in another. You're also able to oversee messages sent by your team members to a homeowner. Kind of hand in hand with that is social messaging. Now, I'm sure if you've got a sales team, if you've got an established business, it is likely that you have set up your Facebook page and you're starting to get reviews and use that as a way to communicate the benefit of your products and services and your role in the community. You want to make sure that you have social messaging turned on, specifically on Facebook. And the reason for that is people are increasingly using this channel as a way to communicate with businesses. In fact, more than 20 billion Facebook messages are exchanged between users and businesses each month. That's a lot. So if you have closed that door, I highly recommend you open it. Just give people an easy alternative way of getting in touch with your business. As I mentioned before, this can be easily brought into a platform like the Signpost app so that you're not toggling between Signpost, Facebook, and a million other apps, throughout the day. That gets pretty complicated and time consuming. So think about how you organize those messages. Also, you don't forget where messages can also come from. The Signpost app brings in Instagram and Google messaging as well. But you may also be receiving messages from Yelp. So you've got to make sure that you're activating these messages platforms and also systematizing how you follow up with these leads. Super important. Next, I want to talk about online scheduling, because if you have not activated this feature to, say, enable homeowners to self-serve into scheduling an estimate of any kind, you're missing out on an easy way to get that lead in the door and to advance that prospect down what we call the marketing funnel into a closed job. And the stats also support that this is a good idea, right? You could incrementally grow your sales with just a simple piece of technology. Now, this one stat point calls out that it could be as much as 25% or 26% new clients. So it's something to keep in mind. There are tools that make it easy to drive people to a scheduler, right? You can have this as a simple call to action on your website. You can integrate it into a chat tool like Signposts. Here's what happens on our site. When you hit our scheduler, it goes straight into HubSpot. That's our CRM. However, you can link your website or your chat to something like Calendly or Google Calendar if you're using that. Lots of options out there. Many are inexpensive or free. The whole point here is to, again, make it easy for that customer, right? If you miss their call, make it easy for them to self-schedule with you. Don't let them slip on to the next guy or gal on the list, as I said before. Here's a pro tip on scheduling that I think is super valuable, because a lot of people are coming in through your Google listing. Make sure you have it linked on your Google listing. It's as simple as logging into your Google business profile. This used to be called Google My Business, but is now Google Business Profile. Make sure everything's up to date, your phone number, your website, and take advantage of this opportunity. It's linked right from the info section. All you have to do is add an appointment link and people can hop right into your scheduler, right? Sometimes without even talking to you on the phone. But if they want to talk to you on the phone, make sure that you're set up for success. There's no way you can answer the phone every single time unless you've got a large team. We know that owners and managers are stretched for time, can't be in every place at once. And it's super valuable to have a backstop like an answering service to ensure that no call goes missed. And the reality is missed calls will cost you money. And the majority of people who are calling in, they don't like voicemail. They won't leave voicemail. To many people, voicemail is dead. I know that's a tough reality, and some people, yes, will leave voicemails, but you are missing out if the only avenue for a homeowner is by leaving a voicemail. So think about how you can put tools into place to ensure that a human being can answer the phone and enable your business to respond instantly. Now, here's an example from how Signpost does it. We partnered with, or we merged with, actually, a live receptionist service last fall to bring you this capability. So not only can we facilitate an instant response by technology, which I'll get into in a minute, our team, which is all US based, can serve as a backstop for when you are unable to answer the phone. So a lot of contractors we work with just simply open the app, toggle the app to forward calls on evenings, weekends, when they know they won't be able to answer the phone. And our service will pick up from there with a customized script tailored to your brand and your business, and also send you that information via text, via email, however you prefer it to be received. So again, just an example from Signpost. There are many solutions out there, but something I highly recommend for you, especially as you're going into your busy season. I am pretty sure many of you are busy already. Don't let those phone calls slip through the cracks. This is another way to ensure that you can drive ROI, on your marketing leads through human capital, through technology. Chances are it's really hard to hire someone, in your market to answer the phone alone. But a simple, say, $200 investment can ensure that, that's covered off with a partner like Signpost. Next, I want to get into automations. So this category is a little bit different than some of the channels that I've talked about to date, but critical to ensuring that you are never missing a lead. I mentioned before, this is about letting the tools, technologies, and processes do the work for you and taking the manual effort out of it. So when I talk about automations, I'm specifically talking about ways that you can answer missed calls and texts, right? How you can handle incoming leads. There's lots of different ways that you can set up technology through tools like Signpost or Zapier or whatever your tools of choice are to ensure that every incoming lead, every call gets acknowledged and that people have the information that they need. So here's just a few examples of how Signpost helps to facilitate that. On the left side, there's actually a capability to send a text message after you miss a call. So think about that, think about how great that experience can be for the homeowner, right? I've called contractors, it rings and rings and rings and rings. It might go to a generic voicemail. I don't know if I want to bother with the message, but if I hang up and if they reach out immediately by text, I've got a line of communication where I can help push my project forward. The middle screen, this is an example of how you can automate responses to lead sources like Home Advisor. So I mentioned we have this capability for not only Home Advisor, but also for Facebook, for Google messaging. We know that it is a race to ensure that you get a chance at reaching that lead and winning the job. And I know especially Home Advisor leads are incredibly expensive. So what our platform helps you do is bring that lead into one place, sends a customized message, and gets that person into a conversation. Our technology also helps to bring you their phone number as well, which I know not all of the Home Advisor lead programs do. So you can see an example of that on the right? The machine kicks in terms of that first response, but as soon as you see that in your app, and as soon as you're available, you as the contractor have the opportunity to take that over and to reach that person directly and get into the details of that homeowner's project. So I know that was a lot of information. And again, please feel free to use the chat to ask the questions that you have or get into some of the particulars. Our goal as a company here at Signpost is to help you achieve these three goals. Respond instantly. We talked about that a lot today in terms of setting yourself up for success, driving the ROI of all of the marketing programs, of all of the communications channels. that you have. Then we want to help you, the contractor, simplify communication. And here's an overview of how we do that as a company. And finally, build credibility. As I said at the top of the hour, we are known as a reputation management or review generation platform as well. That's still really important to us and to contractors out there to get found online. But equally critical is the other tools and functionalities to help you respond first. So I'm going to pause here and talk a little bit about an exclusive offer. I mentioned earlier that we are integrated with Leap. So if you are interested in signing up, you have access to this last day of the month offer. Our platform for today only is $100 off monthly pricing. So you'd save $1,200 for the year. That comes out to $149 a month, no contract. We are month to month. So definitely worth a shot if you want to get started today. If you use your camera for the QR code, you'll go straight to the landing page and one of us will get in touch. But I also want to leave my contact information there. If you have questions about anything we talked about today, please feel free to write that down, reach out to me. And of course, use the chat feature for your questions. So I'll give you just a moment, let that sink in and, let me know what's on your mind.
I have a question.
Sure.
So you mentioned that, I'm looking at my notes. You're 10 times less likely to have leads respond if your reach out takes longer than 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
With that, so you put in place your systems, you have an automation system, you have people answering your phones for you. What is that conversation? What is that first conversation that you want to have with them? Is it just getting their information? Is it really just selling your products? Like in that first 5 minutes, what is the most important information to get out?
Sure. I'll answer this in two parts because I want to provide some clarity behind that 5 minutes. If you think about it, if someone fills out a lead form for your company of any shape, maybe they saw you on Facebook, maybe someone recommended them to you to them rather, and they went to your website, filled out a lead form, any of these methods, like their intent is highest at that moment, right? Like they have that immediacy, they're focused on that task, and you want to capture them at that moment of highest intent. So we'll say that that intent kind of wanes after several minutes, right? If they don't have that immediacy, if they don't have that instant gratification, they're going to either move on to someone down the list or move on with their lives, right? So that's why that window is super critical. And you talked about so what's next? I really think this comes down to each individual contractors or the company's marketing mix. Like, where are you advertising? Where are you spending marketing dollars? And that will drive that script going forward. Even if you know it, I think it is critical to know, or even if you know where that customer or that prospect's coming from, I think it's critical to ask. So for example, here at Signpost, and some of you guys may be doing this as well, we run what is called paid search ads or Google ads, right? If someone types in a need into Google and our ad comes up, we know that they've either searched directly for Signpost or they have certain keywords that were important to them and our solution came up. So depending on what those keywords are, we'll tailor our script accordingly. So, if they're looking for Signpost specifically, did a Google search for us and our paid campaign came up, we might say something like, hey, it sounds like you were looking for Signpost, in a recent search and came across our form, and go on from there. Versus if they looked for get Google reviews or something like that, we might say, hey, we saw that you were searching for Google reviews. Tell me more about that. They came through our website. We want to know what sent them to our website, right? And so I would encourage all contractors to start first by how did you hear about us, and get systematic in tracking those responses. Because, if you find something performing particularly well, there is an opportunity to drive more investment into it. Versus if you're spending a lot of money on Google local services ads, as just an example, and the phone's not ringing, you're not getting leads from that, then you will know to turn that off, right?
Right. Perfect. Well, thank you for clearing that up. We did get a question here in the chat box from Sean. Can you help with setting up a process to manage leads? Meaning, what is the appropriate CRM resulting or notes that'll be used to kick off a hatch or a text email campaign?
Well, again, like this will, of course, depend on, where your leads are coming from first. So yes, we can help set up a process to manage leads. For example, in Signpost, they all come to one place, and we work with contractors to set up that follow-up message, via text, for example, or by phone with scripting appointments. So, all of that to say, yes, that's what we do here at Signpost.
And I think there was one more question in here. Let me see. I noticed that Google and Yelp now show average response time on the business profile. What are the most influential factors in choosing who to call? Response time or rating?
It is, that's a good question. You probably have noticed this on your listings, right? Like it shows front and center for that visitor to your page, like how responsive is this business? If someone sees days response time and they want some kind of acknowledgement or some kind of conversation to happen today, like they're going to move on. So your question was, what's more important, rating or getting that response time, right?
Yeah.
I think it's both, but typically your rating is what's going to get someone to that page, right? Like your Google rating, for example, nothing's more important than that on your Google listing. So, if someone takes action based on the quality and the quantity of reviews that they see, then they're going to start to look at response time and other criteria. So I would rank rating slightly above, just because like in the customer journey, that's what comes first.
Perfect. Well, I wanted to thank you so much, Laura. This was a great presentation. I actually did want to launch one more poll here, and that would just be if you would like someone from Signpost to reach out to you. Laura obviously said so much about what they can do, and they're such a wonderful company to work with. If you would like a Signpost team member to reach out so you can hear a little bit more about how they can help you, you can go ahead and answer yes, please, and they will reach out to you, or maybe later. No hurt feelings either way. We just want to give you the opportunity. Again, thank you so much, Laura. This was a wonderful presentation, and thank you to everyone who joins us. We loved having you on today.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, folks. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.